Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by one of our longtime sponsors here, Madisonville Marine. Boating season is going to be winding down soon. That means it's time to already start looking ahead to boating season 2023. If you want to take advantage of East Tennessee's many beautiful, wonderful lakes, get to Madisonville Marine on Highway 411 North in Madisonville right now. Why? Because there's no better place to buy a boat, and that is a legitimate statement, folks. madmarine.com to learn more. Okay, kind of a quick segment here. I want to talk a little bit about position battles to watch during fall camp. I am intentionally leaving out defensive line and the secondary because we're going to spend so much time talking about those over the next 4 weeks. I think those are the two that everyone would point at the moment. So let's go in a couple of other directions. I will start the ball rolling, a little graphic here, to talk about the running back rotation. This is what I want to see. Jabari Small led the group in carries last year. Tyon Evans transferred to Louisville. Jaylen Hyatt and Leonard Whitehead are back. Four-star Justin Williams joins the group. How are they going to split the carries? And the bigger question for me, and you see for comparison, Hendon Hooker had more carries than anybody. Now, some of that sacks, but also he carried the ball a lot. It would be great if you didn't have to run him as much. As terrific an athlete as he is, I don't want to see him getting banged up out there. He doesn't like to slide or go out of bounds, as Adam Sparks wrote for the Sentinel earlier this year. I wonder, what is your rotation going to be at running back? How those carries going to be split? And also, do you have a short yardage back? You didn't have a tank last year. Do you have a guy that you were going to use as your big boy on 3rd and 1 or at the goal line? So that's where I would go. Sterling, what do you got your eye on in terms of camp battles you're going to watch?
I'm looking at them tight ends, man. We've got some exceptional guys. I mean, Jacob Warren made some incredible plays last year. But he's got some guys that's going to compete for some snaps with him this year. We've got guys that can complement our receiver core, complement those routes, those route combinations, and can block. So that tight end position is going to be stiff for snaps during the games.
I think Sterling's right on the offensive side of things, but I don't think you have to worry about the tight ends as much because you're not going to have an offensive line that's really going to give you the amount of time. I got to go to one practice in the spring, and I went to my favorite drill, the one-on-one drill with offensive line, defensive line. And I don't know about the defensive line, but that offensive line just looked like a cheese grater. It was just letting everything through. The games worked perfectly. And I think it's notable that we still don't have a right tackle that's really dominated. And we know last year with Cade Mazier plus, 3 yards a carry, and without him, what that turned into for this offense to work, you're going to have running backs to get some major yardage, major carries with an offensive line that's going to have holes in it.
A lot of people expect Gerald Mincey to be that guy since he transferred him from Florida, but that's still iffy at right tackle.
Well, I was about to say, that tells you what your running back, who's going to be playing a lot more, is the guy that can pick up the blitz pickups the best. If your offensive line has issues, your running back has to be able to save your quarterback, and that's the only way you're going to keep him from doing a lot of snaps and running the ball.
Or the tight end on the hot read, bam!
Yeah, I think we missing the boat. I think offensively we're going to score some points.
Yeah,
I've got to lean defense. Now, I'm going to show my history here, man. I'm a big, and I always was a big Tennessee guy. So, for me, I think Al Wilson, Ray Knock Thompson, Gerard Mayo, heck, who else? Big Hands. Man, we've got to have a good linebacker group. I think right there is where we're going to make a big difference on the defensive side of the ball. Like you said, DBs and defensive line, that's obvious. But when I think Tennessee defense, I think big-time linebacker play. So
when you speak about those linebackers, Marlon, you think about the guys that iron sharpening iron and the practices those guys had. So who's going to sharpen these guys that's going to put the plays on the field right now, linebacker?
And even more important, I think the biggest weakness Tennessee has on defense right now, any team's going to look at them. They're going to go, how do I get a tight end matched up on that linebacker? Right now, the weakness, Tennessee great linebackers, they could play the run, but they were serviceable enough in the passing game. They could get an interception or two. Right now, that's where you've struggled the last couple of years. You haven't been good at that pass game. You've been a weakness there, and that's been a big opening.
Jeremy Banks is getting a lot of preseason love. Yeah. He is on the watch list. He was mentioned on All SEC. You coached him in high school a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's being set up for what would be one heck of a story from where he started to where he could finish. If he matches these expectations, that would be a big step. Will, I'm also interested in, you got Cedric Tillman, you know what he brings to the table.
Yep.
How does the rest of that receiving hierarchy fall out?
Well, that's the really question. That's hard for me to say because you got your deep threat, but really Josh Heupel's offense, what you want is that guy you can throw a 5-yard route and he makes two guys miss. You spread this field. Yeah,
He's gone.
And you've spread this out to the point of, you're one-on-one and you're 10 yards away from any other defender. So you got to have that guy that can turn the 5 yards into 40, into 50. And right now, you've had a rotating number of guys, but nobody's claimed it because they were unreliable catching the ball at times, or they weren't seeming like in the right position and right place.
Brew McCoy transferred in from Southern Cal, still not eligible yet, so that's a question mark. Jaylen Hyatt, there has been a lot of love thrown at Jaylen Hyatt this offseason about how he's changed his body, he looks better.
Yes.
It's the hands. I'm not worried about his biceps. I'm not worried about his legs. I'm worried about his hands. He had some drops last year. Key one at Florida. That's a guy that Tennessee really needs to step up and live up to his expectations.
I think that guy's going to be a breakout
Sterling
this
can
year.
attest to this.
Yeah.
I think with a wide receiver drops, it's mental.
Yes.
The guy has all the tools. When I watched him in practice last year, he's explosive. He's got all the tools, can route run, but I think he played a little frustrated. And so I think more mental was the reason why you saw a lot of those drops. He's got to step up big for this offense and replace that Velus Jones production.
I saw him. He almost looks like a Calvin Johnson in practice.
He
the way
looks
his
good,
body
man.
is. I mean, he's
He
a
looks
monster.
good.
Well, that'd be pretty strong.
The expectations.
I'm not talking about it.
Can we hold that tape?
I'm not talking
John
about
P.,
skills.
if
I'm
he
talking
gets
about-
that mental block out of the system and learns the system to be able to react out there versus thinking, those hands become natural.
Yeah, if he becomes Megatron, that'd be all right. That'd be pretty good.
I love it. I love it.
Very good. Hey, when we come back, Danny White went public with his expectations for the program, for coaches. Everybody likes that. That's great. That's terrific. But is it a smart move for Danny White long term? Could he have caused himself more trouble? I think we'll debate that next on the Sports Source. Come on back.